Well, Labour are in the news again, particularly Keir Starmer, of course. The press are reporting that he's performed 13, I think it is, U-turns. There are more than that, actually, if you count the promises that were made and then not delivered. In my book, that's also a U-turn or a downright lie. But let's run through what the press are saying. So, every U-turn is reported by Sky. I'm not going to go through every one. The article's quite interesting in of itself. The government has rolled back on its flagship policy of mandatory digital ID, marking the latest in a series of major policy U-turns since the general election. Then we have grooming gangs, and suffice it to say that the lack of an inquiry was incredibly unpopular. Just reading a little bit from this snippet here, tech billionaire Elon Musk launched a series of online attacks on Sir Keir and safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips over that decision, the decision not to go with an inquiry. And this is Elon Musk going as far as calling Ms. Phillips a witch who should go to prison. I apologise to the witches out there. And then the state pension age, the WASPy women. Remember that? I've talked about that. A lot of people have talked about that. Keir and Rachel from accounts were seen cozying up and, saying nice things, the usual platitudes. But then Rachel said she doesn't accept that compensation should be paid, adding that the great majority of women knew the state pension age was increasing and that a state-funded payout wouldn't be fair or value for taxpayers' money. Aren't the WASPy women taxpayers? But anyway, in November 2025, so this is the U-turn, the possibility of U-turning this original U-turn, there you go, was raised when it was announced that the decision to reject compensation would in fact be reconsidered by the government. Oh, isn't that nice? Winter fuel payment cuts. So again, hugely unpopular and hugely unexpected, particularly from a Labour government. But Sir Keir announced a U-turn on the unpopular cut to the benefit last May, with Ms Reeves later clarifying that winter fuel payments would extend to everyone over the state pension age with an income of £35,000 a year or below. And we'll come back to why they're doing this stuff soon. National insurance. Labour will not increase taxes on working people, which is why we will not increase national insurance, the basic or higher additional rates of income tax or VAT. That was the manifesto. But in the budget in 2024, Ms. Rachel from Accounts, Reeves increased the amount businesses had to pay on their employees' national insurance contributions from 13.8 to 15%, effective April 25. She also lowered former £9,100 threshold at which employers start paying national insurance on employees' earnings to £5,000, and what she called a difficult choice to make. Ms Reeves later rejected that this was a U-turn on a manifesto promise, telling Sky News' Beth Rigby that the term working people in a manifesto referred to employees, not employers. Honestly, that's just playing people for fools. And they're not. Then income tax thresholds. In her latest budget, Ms Reeves extended the freeze on income tax thresholds introduced by the Conservatives in 2021 and due to expire in 2028 by 3 years. But the Chancellor previously said she would not freeze thresholds as it would hurt working people, prompting accusations she's broken the trust of voters. Well, she hasn't, because her definition of working people is kind of similar to Bill Clinton's definition of what a relationship with a woman was, allegedly. Inheritance tax on farmers. In a U-turn before Christmas, the government announced a huge climb down on inheritance tax for farmers. Business rates for pubs. Sky News understands the Treasury is preparing a rescue package to provide new financial support for pubs, which is due to be announced in the coming days. Now, what's the thread running through all that? The thread is Keir behaving in a way that he condemned, likes to condemn. A populist, or his version of what a populist leader is, saying things that people actually believe in, want to hear, like. And there he is, doing it, that which he despises. Again, I've critiqued before Keir's definition of populism as being incorrect, but it's another story for another time. Suffice it to say, for the moment, that what we're seeing here is beyond populism. This is not driven by wanting to be popular. It is driven by wanting to be popular because he's desperate to stay in power. At last it's gotten through. It's taken a long time. And he and his cronies and his buddies are scrabbling to remain in positions of authority and influence, remain in government. As a party, far less the cabinet or whatever its latest makeup actually is. And intriguingly, there was an article, BBC article, about the TV programme Traitors, if that's something that you watch, and essentially saying how damaging it could be to lie. That when you lie, it's over time as if you're living on your own little sad, lonely planet. Anyway, enough about that. I thought I'd play you a little clip from the latest cabinet meeting. Good night. Try not to have nightmares.